All right, we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Just when I think I have the ability to kind of walk away, I want to talk about something because I can feel that there's a lot going on in this world. And if I can help people look at things in a more positive perspective, then it's worth doing. And that's exactly what I want to do with this video. And I want you to see how if you utilize everything in your life, even negative, and can learn from it, well, it happens for a reason, and then you begin to understand, or what I like to call understand, of why things are happening the way they are. Now, as you could see, I'm wearing my Yankee hat. I no longer care about sports anymore, especially what's going on now with, like, LeBron James and the Lakers boycotting for reasons that may have well intention, but when you divide the world and talk about fear, you're not creating unity, you're not creating justice, you're not creating anything good. And for somebody like, well, I'm not even going to specifically say one person, but for them, all sports athletes, to be thinking, well, we're proving a point because they're saying that things are deadly and dangerous. Now, that could be happening all around the world for everybody. But to say only a specific type or group is being targeted is irresponsible. And let me ask you something. How many of those multimillionaires are really scared for their lives? Because you don't see LeBron James, for example, using no security. I'm sure he has security all over the place. He doesn't seem to have his life, in jeopardy, fearing he's going to be shot at any moment. So they're using this for the wrong reasons. And I'm pointing that out for the reason why I no longer care about sports anymore. Because if they're not going to let us in, if they're going to use their game that they get paid multi-millions of dollars for to create an agenda, well, then they do not serve me anymore. So as much as I was a die-hard sport fan, it no longer serves me to listen to political agenda when they are hitting a baseball, throwing a football, shooting a basketball, and hitting a puck. Okay? But this is what I want you to see. And it's how you can always learn from everything. You notice how the world is rapidly becoming more insane? Where people are just speaking in ways that 10 years ago they would have probably been locked up in the loony bin for. Well, if you say to yourself, what can I learn from this chaos that could come into play in my life more positively? Well, what happens when you see something so much it annoys you and it continuously gets worse and worse and frustrates you? What do you do eventually if you're smart? You don't pay attention to it anymore. You can't wait for it to disappear. It goes forever. Just imagine being in a relationship where you start out, you're all lovey-dovey and everything's going wonderful. And then one of the party, whether male, female, doesn't matter, gets quite annoying and abusive and belligerent and starts drinking and doing drugs and doesn't shower anymore and curses you, and no matter what you do, you're always wrong, and they are becoming annoying and frustrating, and there's no kindness in their heart. Well, I don't care how much you love that person, eventually you're like, I'm done. I am so sick of this, I'm walking away. Well, if you truly say in your heart you want change, well, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. And the fact that things are getting so crazy and it seems like it's faster and faster means we're getting close to it disappearing, because eventually all this nonsense that people are spewing are going to awaken the most asleep person to the point where I don't want to hear this negativity all the time. And they're going to say, enough is enough, I'm done. And then we will look back and say, remember that time when people were so intolerant that we're preaching tolerance? And they were preaching unity while separating everybody and preaching protection even though they were scaring everybody? Remember that time? We're so glad we're not in that time anymore. So cherish this craziness right now, because that means we're getting close to the breaking point. Now, we can go in the negative direction if you choose to experience the negative direction and then join that chaos and allow what's outside affecting you. Or you can say, what can I learn from what is being presented to me in a positive way? Because, you know what, I used to love the basketball as well. When the strike in baseball happened back in, I think, 94, I started watching basketball and became a huge Knicks fan and started really caring about it. But listening to all of these athletes and how naive they are, because for LeBron James, and I hate to single him out, but everybody in media is going to do it, and he's one of the biggest, highest paid, most famous basketball players out there, so he's going to get the direct response. For him to actually say he fears for his life is absolutely ridiculous, and it's fear-based, and it's not going to unify anybody. And for them to walk away from the playoffs, I wonder if they're also walking away from their salary from the playoffs. I bet you some of them, especially LeBron, I bet he still gets paid. But even if he doesn't, the point is, you can go the negative route. You can go to the fear and division and the hatred and the misuse of power. Because LeBron James is a basketball player, okay? He's not a rocket scientist. He's not a professional, person that knows about monetary systems. He doesn't know about the law. He just regurgitates fear for his own political agenda. Okay? But millions of people are going to follow him. And do you think his words are going to unify people and bring more love into our hearts? Or do you think it's going to create more fear and more division? So the point is, you are coming to a crossroad. And remember what I've said about crossroads. If you stand there afraid to take any particular road, you go nowhere. So I'm seeing all this craziness not as, oh, I should be scared. I see it as an opportunity to say, okay, it's getting so bad, so frequent, that eventually everybody's going to be so sick and tired of it, they don't want it in their life anymore, and then we'll change for the better. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, it is always darkest before the dawn. So I want people to see the positive. Sometimes things have to be destroyed to create. Just look at Las Vegas. At a certain point, they had to destroy all of the mafia-based casinos to get rid of that past. Even though it went underground, but that's besides the point of what I'm trying to say, is they had to put up new buildings, they had to first break down and destroy the old buildings. So there is always going to be a lot of destruction. That's a loud vehicle. There's always going to be a lot of destruction before there is creation. And it's just part of life. For a forest to really grow, sometimes a forest fire is natural and necessary because it clears out the dead wood and it allows fertilizer to end up giving nutrient-rich soil to the new generation of flora and fauna. So you have to think of things not fear-based. Because remember, like we're seeing with the hurricane, and my blessings to anybody in the Louisiana area of that storm, is you have to think about, like, there's well, I'm not even going to give a shout out to that because that could just cause division or whatever. But if you look at a storm, the eye of the storm is the most peaceful, which means you can have the storm raging all around you, but if you're in the eye of the center, you're not going to have the damage. So right now, the world is surrounding you with what seems like endless destruction, pain, and chaos. You can join it if you want, but if joining it is only going to destroy you. But if you stay in the center and stay well-centered and know that even though everything is crumbling around you does not mean it has to crumble you as well unless you allow it, well, you're going to come out of this better. All you have to do is, and I've said this in repeated videos, look at the story of Noah's Ark. Okay, whether it was real or not is irrelevant to the situation. Noah, even though the world supposedly flooded and everything drowned and everything died, still managed to survive because they chose to not be ignoring the obvious and did not use based fear. And look where we are today. So let's assume Noah's story was real. Well, we're here to tell the story, aren't we? So you're coming to a crossroad. If you stand there afraid to make any choice, you're stuck in the middle of the road forever. You go nowhere, and you probably will be hit by a car. That's why I did the analogy in the other video. If you look at life like being on a stream, if you're a rock in the middle of the stream, that stream or that rapid can destroy you over time. Standing your ground. It's not evil. It's just doing what it does. If you get in its way, that's not the river's fault. So go with the flow. The river will always take you where you need to be. The more resistance you create, the more resistance creates pain for you. So if you're experiencing nothing but horror and pain and depression, well, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to get yourself out of the way and make a decision? If you base your life on fear, fear will always be there because you are creating that truth, and it's going to represent even what you don't want. So when fear comes up, you say, okay, what can I learn from this so I can improve my life? That's why I felt it was important to make this video. Now, I'm sure some of you will focus on the fact I'm not wearing a shirt. It's 95 degrees. It's summer here in Florida. I'm incredibly hot. That's why I'm only showing from the shoulder up, because I'm not trying to impress anybody. Some people will focus on that, and that's perfectly fine. If they want to focus instead of the message on something negative, then there will always be something negative in your life. If you're not healing yourself and the world is negative around you, that means the world is a reflection of you. You're not changing yourself, and you're expecting the world to change, and then you'll change. It doesn't work that way. You will wait forever. It's like the rock in the middle of that rapid saying, I'm not moving, the river will move. Yeah, it's going to move. It's going to move right through you. So, if you do not apply information that you feel can benefit you, then it does you no good. What good is somebody giving you the winning lottery numbers if you never go and buy a ticket? So, I guess this is not my last video, but I won't be doing it very often because it affects my energy in a way that I'm going to use as a learning tool, but it does cost me energy to share this to others. So I want it to be for a purpose and for a reason, knowing that it will benefit somebody. Not because they're grateful, because that's nice that people are grateful. But like I said, if I knew the winning lottery numbers and gave them to you, and you're grateful, but you don't go buy a lottery ticket, then it's wasted energy. So what does grateful mean if you don't apply it? So I know there are going to be people that might be grateful for what they're hearing, but if you do not apply it in your life, then it's wasted energy. So if you want your life to be full of fear, well, don't be surprised that you have it all around you. Be careful what you wish for, you might get it. Now, it's not that anybody's hoping for fear, but if you're not going to look at it as a positive point of view and you create your own reality, and if the reflection is telling you it's fear-based and that's within you and you don't fix it, well, whose fault is that? If you're standing in the middle of the rapids refusing to move and waiting for the rapids to move, you're going to be waiting forever. And you will be destroyed in the process. And you can curse the storm. You can curse the rapids. It's not doing it to maliciously hurt you. Just get out of its way. Let it do what it's supposed to do. Life is trying to bring you to the best place possible. Why are you constantly resisting it? And then you curse the very thing that's only a reflection of you. And the sad part is 99.9% of the world does not even understand or even know about this or even listen to it. You know, not for nothing, we've been using governments and militaries and fear-based systems and all these tactics that they're still using today for millions of years. Well, maybe not millions, who knows, but for millennia. Has it gotten us any closer to unity? You know, just go back to the days of the cavemen, and then let's go to the Greek and Roman empires, where they were more quote-unquote civilized. Well, they had wars back then. They murdered people. They had governments controlling people, keeping the poor in poverty, keeping the rich wealthy. And yet, look at how many thousands of years have passed since that time. Have we gotten better as a society? Are we more closer together? Are we closer to a utopia? In other words, how many times do you have to see the same thing happen over and over again before you say there must be another way, because I keep going in a way that does not give me what I want as far as happiness, joy, and unity? But you're responsible for what you do and what you don't do. And if you cannot understand that, it's you who suffers and those around you who suffer. Because when you're angry and you're peeved off, you tend to not be as kind to people around you, even your loved ones. Ever have a really bad day and you come home and somebody says something that you might take in different ways than it should have been meant to be, and then you just take it out on somebody you love? Is that causing unity? Is that causing kindness? So you choose the path that you want, but choose a path, because you can always turn around and do another one. You stay stagnant, the world will pass you by. But I see this craziness in the world going bat you know what crazy as that's a good sign, because it means it's getting close to the end. Because it's getting faster and faster, and it's coming more and more obvious, and eventually people are going to say, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm tired of this. And then things get better. So, it's your choice what you do. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. To all the people out in Louisiana, I hope you are all safe. And if you want to see anything positive out of that situation, well, look how many jobs will be created. If you think that's cruel or mean, well, you have that right to say that. Just put yourself on a better path. And I wish nothing but the best for every one of you. Hope you all have a great day. Thanks for listening.